would 100,000 of Zilliqa's native token called ZIL be good enough for me? Now, personally, I would say yes, even though that's not financial advice. Now, why is that, right? It's because, let's say ZIL were to go to the price of $1. There's no guarantees it will, but let's say it did that. Now, at that point, 100,000 ZIL would, of course, hypothetically be worth $100,000. Now, first of all, people may be thinking, okay, that's not that much. Well, I disagree with that because, first of all, let's say out of this $100,000, I just saved like 30% of that, right? So 30,000. And let's say I use that for the next cycle. Now, let's say during the next cycle does a 10x. Let's say we be a little bit conservative. That 30,000 does a 10x becomes hypothetically $300,000. Let's say even a 20x in a, let's say, better case scenario, $600,000. So just imagine that, right? Just by me saving that amount out of $100,000, it could potentially be something maybe special for even the next cycle, if let's say it were to do good as well when it comes to altcoins. So the way you take a look at it is not bad. Not to mention, I know some people out there with around $50,000, they were able to travel the world for around 2 years. Now, are they going to 5-star hotels and 5-star restaurants every day? No. But then still, they were able to meet new people, gain new experiences, and see new places. So the way you take a look at it is that it's not bad. And I get it. Homes are very expensive indeed in my area. I cannot buy a home for $100,000. Let's face it. But it's a good down payment in my opinion. So the way you take a look at it is that 100 grand isn't a bad amount for me. And not to mention as well, many people out there, they're not only just holding ZIL, at least from what I've seen. They, in some cases that do hold ZIL, they hold other projects too, right? So it's not like they're solely dependent on Zilliqa to do well. But let's say, ZIL became the price of $1, and let's say someone's holding 100,000 ZIL in their portfolio, that becomes $100,000. Hypothetically, right? This is a make-believe scenario, and considering if other projects do well too, it doesn't seem that bad, having one of the pieces there, let's say doing pretty good. Now, some people out there, they may be in a perspective where, $1, that's too much. Well, let me explain why, in my opinion, I don't think it's too much, because at the price of $1, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $20 billion. I get it, it's around a 74x from here, but the way I view it is that, it's not too bad. Let's say during a fully fledged bull run, I'm not saying next week or next Tuesday, I'm not saying this. Let's say during a fully fledged bull run, right? Let's say Bitcoin went to the price of around $300,000, which many people are believing it could very well do that. But let's say it did do that, even though there's no guarantees. Let's say at that point, market cap is around 6 trillion. Now, let's say somewhere along there, Ethereum does very well as well. And let's say market cap's around 2 trillion. So just from those two projects alone, Bitcoin and Ethereum, combined in terms of market cap, excluding Solana, excluding BNB, excluding, XRP, XLM, excluding all this, right? Just from those two projects alone, let's say in this make-believe scenario, combined market cap 8 trillion. Now we have to let that sink in. In a trillion, that's 1,000 billion. And in a billion, that's 1,000 million. So just imagine that. That's a lot right there. So are we saying that, let's say just from Bitcoin and Ethereum alone, let's say if it were to reach a combined market cap of 8,000 billion, why can't around 20 billion flow into this? You know what I mean? This is the way you take a look at it. This is my perspective. It doesn't mean it'll happen. I can't tell the future, but it wouldn't surprise me because it doesn't seem that, crazy, right? It doesn't seem that illogical, if that makes sense. Not logical, but again, I said illogical. But yeah, besides that point, here's the thing. When I take a look at something like Zilliqa, I think it's a very amazing project as well. And I think something like this could very well contribute to it. Maybe, reaching the price of $1. Again, when it comes to ZIL, its native token. Now, why is Zilliqa amazing? Because it's been stated that Zilliqa is allegedly the world's first ever sharding-based blockchain. Now, why is this a big deal? Some people may think, other projects out there have aspects of sharding, like for instance, the Near protocol, which is a very famous example, right? Of course, there's a bunch of other projects, but I'm just saying, Near is like the most recognizable one, in my opinion. But it doesn't mean it's bad, because keep in mind, through sharding, the network is split into multiple sections known as shards, and as a result, the workload is distributed amongst these different shards, and as a result of that, something like Zilliqa does become very scalable. So that's amazing, right? Not to mention as well, Zilliqa is improving though, because we'll have to see that there could be a lot of benefits brought through maybe Zilliqa 2.0. Now we'll have to see what really happens when it comes to that. We have to wait really until, in my opinion, it becomes like fully fifth gear type of like momentum when it comes to Zilliqa 2.0. Is just my point of view. But let's say Zilliqa 2.0 becomes this very amazing thing. Why would it not be good? Because take a look at how Zilliqa 2.0, through that, right? It is EVM compatible. Now, that means Ethereum virtual machine compatible. Why is that good? Because Ethereum is on the rise. We take a look at the Ethereum ETF and just the amount of fans that Ethereum has. I think that's overall very good. But that's not all, right? Because when it comes to Zilliqa 2.0, it allegedly is now lightning fast. It's not like Zilliqa wasn't fast before, but you know, if it comes faster, why not? You know what I mean? But besides that point, the root mainnet shard will feature average block times of as low as 2 seconds. That's very impressive. Now, is this super necessary? Hashtag Jorge Masvidal when it comes to something like, Zilliqa to do this. Nah, not really. I mean, I was bullish on Zilliqa before, but you know what? A renovation, that's the way to take a look at it. Is it, that bad? Nah, I don't think so. Do you remember, those Gordon Ramsay type of TV shows where he does like a makeover of like a restaurant or like a hotel or whatever? The way you take a look at it is that it's something like that. You know what I mean? When it comes to something like Zilliqa, I'm not saying that it's totally bad, like some of the restaurants that I see when it comes to those Gordon Ramsay shows, but I'm just saying it's not totally bad. But a renovation, why not? A makeover, why not? That's the way to take a look at it. It shows that when it comes to Zilliqa, they treat this project seriously. It's not a game. It's not a side gig. It's not a part-time job for them, it feels like, at least. Because when it comes to other projects out there, the team, they're going to develop when they want to develop. They're going to update when they want to. There is no telling when they'll do that. I've seen that in a lot of cases. They treat it like a side gig. You know what I mean? They don't treat it like a full-time thing. But when it comes to Zilliqa, it feels like a full-time thing to me, at least when it comes to what they're doing. Because if it wasn't, why would they be doing that? Why would they be upgrading and all this type of stuff, right? Why would they even be caring about the future? Now, I'm not a part of the Zilliqa team, so I don't know for sure, but I'm just saying it feels like that. It gives me that vibe. And it's better giving that vibe anyways, because some other projects out there, they feel a little bit lazy. It's not my style. You know what I mean? It's not my style to believe in lazy projects, But even besides that, when I take a look at something like Zilliqa as well, people like to say, oh man, it has no future. There's too many projects out there. Zilliqa's going to get diluted. Well, here's the thing. Even though there's going to be a slight amount of dilution, I don't think it's going to be too extreme to the levels in which some people do believe. The reason why is this. I'm totally aware of the fact that sometimes people like to tell me, hey, did you see how many projects launched last month or last week? Take a look at how many projects launched. I'm totally aware of that. But it doesn't mean that the competitors when it comes to Zil is increased by a whole lot. Because keep in mind, many of these projects that launched, they're not really going to go anywhere. They're going to stay sometimes like just kind of being a project that never gains attraction, never gains any sort of momentum, just kind of disappears. Many of them will never ever, get listed in any sort of major exchange. So yes, a lot of projects are launching because, there's so many launch pads nowadays. It's so easy to launch a project, especially, these random meme coins that no one's ever really going to ever hear about, right? Despite that, having a lot of competition doesn't mean that there's a lot of good competition, if that makes sense. When people seem to think that, this born is going to be bad and all this type of stuff, well, I disagree, because I think what's so bullish as of right now is that we have over 600 million crypto owners according to Crypto.com research. Why is this good news? Hypothetically, in my opinion, it's because we have never seen Bitcoin reach $150,000 yet. We have never seen 200,000, 300,000, right? And yet still we have this amount of crypto owners, more than ever before in history. So what would the amount of crypto owners be like if, let's say, the whole space did a lot better? Let's say altcoins were doing better. Let's say Bitcoin went to the price of around $300,000. Let's say Ethereum went to the price of $10,000. Would there only be this amount of crypto owners, or would there be around 700, 800 million? That wouldn't surprise me. And I don't think that something like Zil at that point is going to get forgotten about, but only time will tell. But here's the thing. The market's going to wake up when it wants to. I can't predict exactly when it's going to wake up because, truth be told, I feel like we will only know the bottom after we have passed some time and know that that is the bottom, right? We will only know the top after some time has passed, and then that is the top, But how can I predict that? I can't tell the future. I don't have a magic crystal ball. That'd be awesome if I did, but I don't have that, right? But even besides that, so what is a way for me to prepare myself for a moment in which the market really does pick up when the altcoin season really kicks into fifth gear? That is just by accumulating, holding, and just waiting. That's it. Because again, the market's going to do what it wants to do. It doesn't care if I pull up a price chart, draw some random triangles. It doesn't care. It's not going to listen to me. If I pulled up a, price chart on Zill and I drew some random triangles and I'm like, oh, wow, falling wedge pattern. And the market doesn't care what I draw. I could draw Brock Lesnar. I could draw Mickey Mouse. I could draw, SpongeBob. It doesn't care. So it looks cool. It's like, oh, wow, they're drawing some random things. Nah, that's not my style. I'd rather focus on the fundamentals because if I only focus on the price chart when it comes to Zill, I would think it's such a bad project. I'll be like, what? This is terrible. But then it's not, right? Because I look at the fundamentals. That's what I'd rather do. I cannot understand a project by just taking a look at its native token's price chart. How is that possible? It's impossible, in my opinion. Maybe I can take a look at the price performance, but I wouldn't know what the project is about, fundamentally speaking, which is why I talk about that. And again, the market's going to wake up when it wants to wake up, but $1 wouldn't surprise me whatsoever when it comes to Zill. And 100,000 Zill doesn't seem too bad to me. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. Greatly appreciated. It's Mali the Captain, and I'll catch you all on the next one. I'm a peace. Bye.